Chapter 22 of Beyond the Rocks. A love story by Elinor Glyn. The Crow stayed on after all the other guests had left. He knew his hostess wished to talk to him. It had begun to pour with rain, and the dripping streets held out no inducement to them to go out. They pulled up their two comfortable armchairs to the sparkling wood fire, and then Colonel Lowerby said,
"You look sad, Queen Anne. Tell me about it."
"Yes, I am sad," said Anne. "The position is so hopeless. Hector loves her really, and I do not wonder at it. And she seems just everything that one could wish for him, 1,000 times above Morella in intellect and understanding. All the things Hector and I like she sees at once. No need of explaining to her as one has to do to mother and Morella always."
"Yes,"
said the Crow. He did not argue with her as usual.
"It seems so fearful to think of her forever bound to that dreadful old grocer, whom she treats with so much deference and gentleness. The whole thing has made me sad. Hector is perfectly miserable, and do you know they are going to Beechley for Whitsuntide. Sir Patrick Fitzgerald is her uncle, and of course Hector is going too, and—"
She did not finish her sentence. Her voice died away in a pathetic note as she gazed into the fire. The Crow fidgeted. He had been devoted to Anne since she was a child of 10, and he hated to see her troubled.
"Look here,"
he said.
"I investigated her thoroughly at luncheon, and I don't often make a mistake, do I?"
"No," said Anne. "Well?"
"Well, she appeared to me to have some particular quality of sweetness. You were right about her looking like an angel, and I think she has got an angel's nature more or less. And when people are really like that, there is someone up above looks after them, and I don't think we need worry much, you and I."
"Dear old Crow," said Anne, "you do comfort me. But all the same, angel or not, Hector is so attractive, and he is a man, you know, not one of those anemic, artistic, aesthetic things we see about so often now, and thrown together like that. How on earth will they be able to help themselves?"
The Crow was silent.
"You see," she continued, "beyond Morella, who is too absolutely unalluring and respectable to come to harm anywhere, and Miss Linwood, who only cares for bridge, there will hardly be another woman in the house who has not got a lover, and the atmosphere of those things is catching. Don't you think so?"
"It is nature,"
said Colonel Lowerby.
"A woman in possession of her health and faculties requires a mate, and when her husband is attending to sport or some other man's wife, she is bound to find one somewhere. I don't blame the poor things."
"Oh, nor I," said Anne. "I don't ever blame anyone. And just one, because you love him, seems all right, perhaps. It is 6 different ones in a year, and a 7th to pay the bills that I find vulgar."
"Dans les premières passions, les femmes aiment l'amant, et dans les autres, elles aiment la mort,"
quoted the Crow.
"It was ever the same, you see. It is the 7th to pay the bills that seems vulgar and modern."
"Billy and I stayed there for the pheasant shoot last November, and I assure you we felt quite out of it, having no little adventures at night like the rest. Lady Ada is the picture of washed-out respectability herself, and so to give her some reflected color, I suppose, she asks always the most go-ahead advanced section of her acquaintances."
"Well, I shall be there this time,"
said the Crow.
"She invited me last week."
This piece of news comforted Lady Anningford greatly. She felt here would be someone to help matters if he could.
Morella will be perfectly furious when she gets there and finds she was not the reason of Hector's empressement for the invitation. And in her stolid way she can be just as spiteful as Lady Harrowfield.
"Yes, I know."
Then they were both silent for a while, Anne's thoughts busy with the mournful idea of the end of the house of Bracondale should Hector ever marry, and the Crow's of her in sympathy, his eyes watching her face. At last she spoke.
"I believe it would be best for Hector to go right away for a year or so," she sighed. "But however it may be, I fear, alas, it can only end in tears."
End of chapter 22.